Okay, welcome to another episode, Pound for Pound Boxing Report, episode 152, final episode of 2016. Finally, we're on YouTube. Sorry for the technical issues on my end for the show starting so late for those who are watching us live. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this week, Gail Falcadolo Communities Digital News, Francis and Joe from Full Boxing, Daniel Carpio of The Inscriber, Jacob from Jab Hook Boxer. What's going on, ladies and gents?
What's
Evening.
going, guys?
Hello.
Indeed. For those who are new to Pound for Pound Box Report, Pound for Pound Box Report, the live YouTube show, as well as podcast and blog, discussing all things boxing. The bottom motto is: when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When boxing is bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, if it concerns boxing, we will talk about it. Um, for those who are new to Pound for Pound Box Report, no. If you want to find all information regarding Pound for Pound Box Report, one main place you want to go to, that's the blog page, P4P Boxing Report .wordpress.com. It's the link. Check the right of the page. You'll find links to find all our pages on G Plus, YouTube, Tumblr, as well as links to find where to listen to us on SoundCloud, iTunes, Player.fm, Stitcher Radio as well. Let's get started with the show tonight. Tonight is our year-end recap, kind of annual Pound for Pound Boxing Report Awards show. Where we give different categories: fighter of the year, round of the year, knockout of the year, etc., etc., etc. Starting with ladies first, I'll go with Gail and Francis here. Fighter of the year and fight of the year. I'll go with you ladies first. For 2016 in boxing, who do you have?
Well, I'll get it started, and I think that our short lists are all very similar, and our choice might be unanimous this year. I went with Carl Frampton as Fighter of the Year. It's been a great couple of years for British boxing overall, and Frampton is a wonderful symbol of what's happening in the UK in boxing. He is now a title holder in 2 weight divisions. He did it this year on his opponent's turf. He took his toughest fight of the year, going up a weight division in a fight that I don't think a lot of people expected him to win, against Leo Santa Cruz. It was a superb performance, and he didn't shy away from a challenge, and that alone gives him enormous respect in my book. And he did exactly what he needed to do in both fights. Maybe they weren't the prettiest fights, the most spectacular, but he won them. He trained well. He did exactly what he needed to do. And he's coming right back at it in another month with a rematch. What can you say about a guy like that? That's everything we ask a fighter to do, and he did it.
I'm actually going to give Fighter of the Year to Vasyl Lomachenko. I know that's kind of unexpected, but for a number of different reasons, and that he held the WBO featherweight title from 2014 to 2016, moved up in weight, kicked Rocky Martinez's ass, and he's held the WBO junior lightweight title since June of 2016, and then had that stellar performance against Nicholas Walters. For those reasons, I pick Lomachenko as Fighter of the Year. And in addition to that, I think he does fight very pretty. There are a lot of different things that he does in the ring that I like. The way that he dips down low to try to move in. In addition to that, how he pulls down his opponent's jabs. I don't know if you guys noticed, because he can get away with it so well. But whenever his opponents throw jabs, he can actually pull them down by the elbow, by the length of their elbows. And it's not very noticeable on screen. But if you play his fights in slow motion, you can notice those things. And those are the little things that I like about Lomachenko, and the things that he gets away with in the ring that I'm not so sure that other fighters can pull off. So my Fighter of the Year is Vasyl Lomachenko.
I see Scorsese has joined us on the show as well. Thanks for joining us, brother. I'll go to you on this question. Then you can follow up Daniel and Jacob. Your Fighter of the Year for 2016.
I think it's obvious, Andre Ward. I agree with the what Gail said. Not the pretty kind of fights. I really don't go for that. It's just about the result. When you put 2 A-level fighters in there, you might have a 7-5, 8-4. You might have a 6-6, but win either way kind of fight. We saw what Sullivan Barrera went on to do to an A-level prospect in Shabransky. Andre Ward wasn't having that. He took 3 fights this year, topping it off with Kovalev. in comparison to Gail picking Frampton's, I would look at that and say, you know what? I don't want I didn't want my list to be political. I wanted to give it to people who didn't pick and choose kind of fights. Um, Andre Ward didn't pick and choose. He picked and choose his worst fight, but the other two he picked very formidable. He picked the formidable Southern Barrera. Then he was basically forced by HBO to get a contract to fight Kovalev. He done it. Whereas Frampton, they said fight Rigo next, and he decided, no, I'm going to fight a guy that didn't want to fight Rigo either. I get he went over and did a lot of things, but that's sort of like skipping the divisional playoff game, but saying I want to make it to the Super Bowl. So and to Francis's pick, and hey Francis and Joe, glad to have y'all back. I really miss y'all talking to y'all on here. But to the Lomachenko point, I think it was a sort of political move on his part too, with the Rocky Martinez fight, taking that fight when Rocky had came off of that loss that turned out to be a draw, and Walter's on the layoff. I got to look at the opponents in the context, and with that, I would have to go Andre Ward. Number 2, Jamal Charlo. Number 3, I think Robert Easter Jr. 4 or 5, I would give to Jason Sosa and the light heavyweight the steel work. I can't think of his name right now. Joe Smith Jr.
I'll give my decision right quick, and I'm warning him. I'm having laptop issues. That's again the reason why the show started so late. I may have to dip out and jump on the PC, but it is what it is. My pick for fighter of the year in 2016, for me, I'm going with Terrence Crawford. I can understand the decision for Ward. In the most important fight of the year, he got the decision. But I think Crawford was the most impressive fighter overall. The fight with Postal, where a lot of folks felt Postal could give him some trouble, he dominated. And he dominated everybody he fought this year, concluding with an emphatic victory over John Molina. I think Crawford went from a very good fighter to a star, and at the end of the year, he's on the precipice of becoming a superstar. So for me, Bud Crawford, my 2016 fighter of the year, and I'll go to you, Jacob and Daniel. Your thoughts on fighter of the year for 2016?
I have the same, Michael, as you, and you pretty much took the words out of my mouth. I get the Frampton, I get the Ward, I get the Lomachenko, but for me, Terrence Crawford, just that Victor Postal win, he was a consensus number 2, so number 1 versus number 2, and a lot of people thought it was going to be, a tough test, and he ripped through him like a buzzsaw, and he did that with his other 2 opponents, stopping them all. So three wins, and he's bound for greatness. So I agree on all your points.
Daniel,
I go in what's going to be Ireland soon, pretty anyway. I'm going with Carl Frampton, mainly because he accomplished just 2 things that most people don't consider. Like, he did fight his biggest domestic rival at the right time in Quake. He did it at the right stage. He even gave up home turf instead of Belfast. He fought in Manchester. And then he did something I didn't think not a lot of people could do. Just stop Leo Santa Cruz's motor from being consistent. That's very hard to do against Amanda Santa Cruz. And to do it in a very, really good fight. And to win it and to have the rematch. Remember, we're literally a month away from the rematch. So I got to give respect where respect is due, because also, like I said it on my show, when can we legitimately say that we literally saw the student surpass the teacher in real time? Frampton surpassed McGuigan in real time, and we saw it this year. He can lay claim as the best fighter now to ever come out of Northern Ireland. Whether it'll be Ireland soon enough, we don't know. That involves geopolitics, but I have to give it to Frampton.
Indeed, I like the diversity of choices here. Let's move on to fight of the year. I'll go to you, Jacob, and then you can follow up Scorsese. 2016 fight of the year. Who you got?
Easy pick for me, Salido Vargas. I was there. It was electric. I mean, you can pick any of those rounds for like a round of the year. It was that type of fight. They let it all hang on the line. They do what Warriors do, and the crowd was up on its feet almost the whole fight. They did a fitting tribute to Ali, so it was just a beautiful night, wonderful night, and one that I'll never forget.
Who you got, Scorsese, for 2016 fight of the year?
Yeah, I want to argue some of the fight of the year picks, but I go with the fight that happened early in 2017, a light heavyweight fight that amazed me. I think it was February, March. It was the Berto Ortiz card, and Thomas Williams Jr. and Edwin Rodriguez put on the show. Just 2 rounds, that's all they needed. They hurt each other, threw bombs all night long, and these are big dudes. I know some 26 pounders and 30 pounders can get in there and throw, 800, 1,000 punches. But man, they took some huge shots. I remember Williams Jr. hurt on the. I can't remember which round it was he was hurt in, but he was knocked up against the ropes by a huge shot. And you wondering, is he about to quit? Is he about to quit? And he bounced back and literally knocked this man out on his feet. First, he put him on the canvas. He got up out on his feet. Just started that card off, had me sweating. Best fight I've seen in a very, very long time.
That was only a 2-round fight. That was on the Berto Ortiz 2 undercard, and it ended up being the walk-off fight. Hardly anybody in the arena was paying attention.
No. They started the card. They actually started the card off. They got the first fight on the undercard, I believe. Unless they did, they were on the Fox card. They were on the Fox portion. They started it off.
On TV, they might have started it off. I can tell you, in the arena, they were the last fight.
Oh, it was a nasty one. That was great.
It was a nasty fight. It was a nasty little fight. It was very short.
I'll go to you then, since you on the mic, Gail. You then, Daniel, your fight of the year for 2016.
It's easy to pick a fight of the year when you're there, and it biases you toward that fight. So admittedly, Salido Vargas, for me, has never been surpassed. It was the first main event after Muhammad Ali's death. The tribute there at StubHub was fitting, moving, and then we had these two warriors just go to battle against each other. There is something about that venue that generates these fights of the year. But I was at several other great fights that were runners-up. So in comparison, at least I still had the point of view of, I was at the fight of the year, but I was at some other good fights. So what made these rise above? Roman Gonzalez, Chocolatito, and Carlos Cuadras was an excellent fight for reasons I didn't expect. If you like just flat out wars, Jesus Soto Karass and Yoshihiro Kamagai put on quite the brawl in April of this year. And who in the world would have thought that Dillian White and Derek Chisora would have put on the show they did? And that was a very close second for me, but I had to go with Vargas and Salido.
I'm going with Vargas and Salido as well. And it's precisely because not just the fight, but you mentioned context, Scorsese. It's the context, the backdrop. The fact that this took place the week that Muhammad Ali passed, right after, a few days afterwards. I think a day after he passed, if memory serves me correct. At StubHub, special venue. Fight lived up to expectations. They both went to war. Everybody in the crowd was on their feet. Boxing Twitter was just going crazy throughout the fight. So for me, I can understand some people will say Thurman and Porter, Dillian White and Chisora, really, really good heavyweight fight. You hadn't seen a heavyweight fight that good in years. But for me, Vargas and Salido, the context, the backdrop, the bout took place in, put all that together. That's my 2016 fight of the year. And that's a change for me because when I was on Daniel's show, I was mentioning Easter Junior and Comey, but I had to, after thinking about it for a few days, I had to sit back and reassess my decision. Then Daniel, and then Francis and Joe. 2016 Fight of the Year for you.
We're gonna about almost make it unanimous with Vargas Lito here, and the back, even taking the backdrop out of it, that was a fight that lived up to the expectation as a blood offering to the boxing gods. Because that's exactly what it was. Those two did not waste any time feeling each other out. There was high tension throughout the fight. There were Salido combinations to the body that were amazing. There were moments where Vargas landed some combinations to the head and then to the body that were amazing. It was a great overall fight. And then when you add the backdrop to it, it was almost a perfect tribute to Ali. The only thing that might have made it better is if it was heavyweights doing it. But I have to say in that case, I would have to give like a good, strong dark horse to both Easter Comey and Chisora White, because there were moments in those fights where you felt they could have ended. But both of them went the distance. I said Vargas Salido, and it's one of the few times where in Vargas Salido where I can see a draw and I'm actually happy with it. How many times can we say that?
Right. Francis, your 2016 Fight of the Year.
I'm actually going to go with Thurman Porter for a number of different reasons. First of all, it was an excellent fight. I thought that it exceeded expectations. It was a classic example of a promoter putting his two best fighters against each other and then having that kind of result. It was a 50-50 fight with two fighters in their prime, and it was free to watch, so I liked that. And then on top of that, it was hard to score. I think maybe from a judge's perspective, it would be a hard fight to score, because do you give more points to Porter for his aggression and his effectiveness because of his aggression, or do you give more points to Thurman because of the shots that he landed? He landed the more efficient shots. So obviously the fight went to Thurman for that reason, and he got the unanimous decision. But throughout the duration of the fight, it was a back and forth war. It was a brawl. It was excitement and action-packed until the very end. And even though Porter lost, he was a champion in defeat. He didn't stop fighting. He kept coming, and he never gave up. So that's why I give my Fight of the Year to Thurman Porter.
And I agree with you guys with Salido Vargas. To me, that was, for all the reasons you guys talked about, everyone knew it was going to be good going in, and it was even better than we expected.
I'm going back to you on this one, Francis and Joe. I'm gonna give for knockout of the year. I'm gonna give my pick first. For me, it's the fight that took place last month of the year. Jermell Charlo, Julian J. Rock Williams, highly anticipated bout. Competitive throughout, but the way that Charlo ended it for me in such emphatic fashion, stamped his mark on, if you will, on boxing. Let folks know that he's a guy to look for in 2017. For me, again, there are other one-punch knockouts that are like, wow, whoa, but the significance of this knockout and what it means going forward for Jermell Charlo and who he did it against, for me, that's my 2016 knockout of the year. But I'll start off with you, Francis and Joe. Your pick, knockout of the year. Your pick for KO of 2016.
Yes, I have to agree with you, Mike. My 2016 knockout of the year is Charlo and J-Rock. Charlo's delivery of that uppercut, the timing on that was perfect, as we watched J-Rock come in with that 1-2, and then Charlo come in with that uppercut pretty much out of nowhere. And I thought that the way that the knockout was delivered made the decision for me, made the decision easier for me. And there was a knockout, I believe, in the earlier rounds where Charlo landed. I believe it was a jab, but it came from underneath, and that was the way that the uppercut came too. It was underneath. It was slick. It was sly. It was unpredictable. So I'm going to have to agree with you. I believe the knockout of the year is Charlo's knockout of J-Rock with that uppercut.
I'm going to go with one that's a little bit less known, with Hassan Endam knocking out Alfonso Blanco. It's not a real popular fight, but it was one of those quick one-punch knockout.
Good pick.
One punch, guy goes out, falls face first, Endam just walks away. If you watch the highlight on YouTube, it's just the classic one-punch KO. So that's my pick.
You got to mention the doggy paddling after the end or whatever that was he was doing, Joe.
I don't even know what it was doing, but that was pretty good.
It was horrible.
I see Gus from Corruption in Boxing has joined us. I'll get him into the discussion right quick, get him to catch up. Your fighter of the year for 2016, Gus, and your fight of the year.
Hey, Mike.
What's going on? What's going on?
Just a very heavy cold, hence why I'm so late. It's just sub-zero temperatures over here, day and night at the moment.
Your fighter and your fighter of the year for 2016, and your top fight for 2016, Gus.
Fighter of the year, Mike. For me, it's Politics aside, it's Richard Comey, Mike. He's been involved in 2 fights, back-to-back, possible fight of the year contenders, with minimum time to recover, and you can make the argument that he won both fights. And incidentally, both fights were on the road in the backyard of his opponents as well. You can make the strong argument that he won both fights, then he should be the IBF 140 champion and sort of still undefeated. So for me, he's fighter of the year. I have Jason Sosa number 2. He came from total obscurity. He's probably the Joe Smith Jr. of the lower weight classes, not backed by no major promoters. And he went on the road in China, won the world title there against a heavy puncher, showed power later on. And then he went to Monaco against a very good fighter who people may not know, but Stephen Smith was a very decorated amateur. He was groomed to win that title, and he went over there and he put on a masterclass. So they're my top 2. Fight of the year is Marlon Tapeles of the Philippines when he beat Polong Sorsinyoy of Thailand. 10th round knockout, 5 knockdowns, a fighter coming back from a 10-6 round. Just extraordinary action. So that's for me the fight of the year.
And while you're on your knockout of the year, your KO of the year for 2016.
Knockout of the year, it may be controversial, but it was Alexander Povetkin against
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Really? Wow.
Whoa, Gus.
The way he slipped.
I thought we were friends, Gus. You know how I feel about that fight.
Mike, what he was, the double left hook was so reminiscent of Mike Tyson. Clearly shows that that he learned a lot through his time with Teddy Atlas. So and the way Duopar just sort of bounced in midair, it was just an extraordinary knockout.
Interestingly enough, Mike Tyson's right now on Showtime.
You got me for a loop. I'm confused here. Let me get my head straight. I'll go to you, Scorsese, and then finally you, Gail, Jacob, and Daniel. First, you, Scorsese, your knockout of the year for 2016.
Joe and Francis, and Michael, yourself, you picked the skill, the context of it. I go with context in the fight of the year because that's very important as far as these accolades for, fight, knockout of the year and round of the year. I that's up in the air, but mine doesn't have to be sleep. Something happened this year that you don't see a lot of. I don't know if y'all familiar from the parts of the country or overseas where y'all from, when people walk up behind a person, like when you're kids and they got on gym shorts and you just pants them real quick. Everybody familiar with that?
Oh yeah.
Pants. Okay, well, this happened in a boxing ring with a punch. Adonis Stevenson pants Thomas Williams Jr. He literally crumbled straight down, and he didn't go. He was asleep for a second. Like I said, it's not about being asleep for me. When this happens, I lost my mind. I could not believe a man just his knees could hit the canvas. His waist never moved. And Lil Wayne has a line that says in a song, he says, "We do drive-bys and we do walk-ups." Now Adonis Stevenson is known for his long left hands, but on this shot, he walked into him with a jab to the body and then a 6-inch left hand. Considered a walk-up, not a drive-by. This is close range, and this man just, no pun intended, like no, not no joke. But the World Trade Centers is what he reminded me of, the way he felt, and I just could not believe a man could do that. I've seen people fall on their face with the end dime knockout. He fell right on his face. That was beautiful. But this man crumbled and then reached his face. And I remember talking on the show when we first got on after that. I said it looked like the devil pulled him down the hill, straight down, and we all just laughed. And I just said, I don't know, that's ridiculous. I don't think I've ever seen a knockout that made me say, wow, this dude crumbled, and that's what happened.
Gail, your pick for 2016 Fight of the Year, Knockout of the Year, excuse me.
We had some great choices this year, and it's like asking somebody, well, what flavor of cake or what flavor of ice cream do you like? Well, do you really have to just pick one? It depends on the day sometimes which one you like. The Ndam knockout was sensational. The Menard and Bernardo knockout was excellent. Smith and Fonfara for the shock factor. But for me, I had to go with Julius Ndongo against Edward Troyanovsky. There was the shock factor. It was that one shot, one kill sort of knockout, which for a knockout of the year, I really like seeing that one perfectly placed shot. And it came off a perfect body shot feint from the right. And as Troyanovsky leaned to avoid that, he put his face right in the path of Ndongo's fist, and it was done. And who would have expected that?
What the hell, 2016? A guy from obscurity, I think from Namibia somewhere.
He is from Namibia. He was
never heard of him.
Nobody, now he held a kind of a minor African continent belt, and in that division, which admittedly is not the heaviest laden with talent division. He was ranked 15th. Believe it or not, BoxRec now has him second behind Terrence Crawford on the strength of that performance, and he is undefeated. I'm looking forward to seeing him tested against some of the other known opponents in that division in 2016. And I hope he exploits his little sudden fame into a couple of paydays, and let's see if he's for real.
That knockout,
spectacular.
Well, a bit of an update here. There are negotiations taking place for Ndongo for him to fight Ricky Burns first quarter 2017. So there you go.
Right. Good for him.
Yeah, you should have mentioned that not Burns, but Trunowski, his head only moved about 1 inch when that shot landed. It didn't cock or nothing. It was just cold and out. That
is absolutely the truth. Yeah, just a stunner. And is this indicative of Ndongo's skill, and he's just not been given the forum? He came late to boxing as a professional. He turned pro at after the 2008 Olympics, which he participated and didn't do particularly well. And he's only had a couple of fights a year ever since. So, my God, let's get that guy out of mothballs and into the spotlight. That was amazing. But we had some great knockouts. And another one on the short list that nobody's mentioned so far, Murat Gassiev over Shamel. Fantastic knockout. And if you like the big guys, that was a great one.
Ooh. They had a great oxygen mask in the ring.
Yeah, I forgot about that. I was surprised the one mentioned Joe Smith knocking Bernard Hopkins out the ropes, out the ring, but whatever. I'll go to you, Daniel and Jacob. Your pick KO of the year for 2016.
I have to say, still, the Spence knockout of Bundu because of the sheer brutality of it. The way Spence just has a killer instinct, and just when he knows he has somebody hurt, he goes in for the kill. He doesn't waste time. And he did it with Bundu. He did it with Bundu in a way that had Bundu looking like George Groves in that fight in that second fight he had with Frotch. One leg bent almost out of the ring completely in the middle of Coney Island. And it was emphatic. And I almost, like I said, I picked that on my show. I almost went with Gassiev, because you literally were scared. And when that Gassiev knockout, that he literally did kill that guy. Because he was not moving. It was like, oh my God, he killed him. But it was just the way that Spence did it. Like Gassiev was just a right-landed punch. With Spence, you knew the intentions were to kill Bundu at that point. Ooh, it was beautiful.
I'll go to you, Jacob. Again, sorry if you're having some technical issues. I don't know if you guys can hear me clearly. If not, I apologize for that. Jacob, KO of the year, KO of 2016.
Yeah, for me, it was Tony Bellew versus Makabu, I think his name is. Yeah, that to me, he had the guy knocked out on his feet, completely knocked out, and it was kind of scary the way he fell back. And to me, that was the knockout of the year.
Going back to you, Francis and Joe. 2016 upset of the year. Who you got?
I'm going to have to give that to Joe Smith and B-Hop. I thought that was the upset of the year. It's not that I thought it was so impressive for Joe Smith to beat an over-the-hill B-Hop, but it was the way that he knocked him out of the ring that I found to be so unexpected and just left me with such an element of shock. Yeah, I had a hard time watching that fight, just seeing B-Hop try to get back up on his feet after he got blasted out of the ring. It was hard to watch. I thought that I hoped that B-Hop would be able to finish the fight and that it would go the distance. But for me, that was the upset of the year.
Well, I was going to go with the other Joe Smith fight for upset of the year when he went in to Andre Fonfara's adopted hometown in Chicago. Nobody knew who he was, and he had the whole crowd cheering for Fonfara, and Joe Smith just went out there and just dropped him and finished him in one round. To me, nobody knew who Joe Smith was before that fight, and then boom, and it was on network TV, and the main event just beats Fonfara just in one round. To me, that's the upset of the year.
Go to you guys. Your 2016 upset of the year.
Definitely Julius Indongo, Mike. Edward Trojanowski, he once again suffered the remnants of the Superman Stevenson curse, avoiding the lineal, tried to get a voluntary defense, somebody easy, and he ends up getting his ass kicked. So beautiful retribution for him.
Scorsese and then Gail, you're upset for 2016.
I know Daniel and Jacob don't like those two words. Curse. But yeah, it was Andres Fonfara. It was for the Joe Smith Jr. for the Fonfara fight. Then Trudnowski went and knocked the champion out in one punch. Fonfara's never had a belt. Lord Jesus. Like we said, no inch of movement on that head, no hair flicking back, nothing. Just fall and lay cold and give them your belt away.
For me, I'm gonna chime in right quick. For me, it was a fight that took place earlier this spring in Japan. Jezreel Corrales didn't just beat Takashi Uchiyama, reigning WBA junior lightweight champion. He had his way to him. He obliterated him that night, stopped him in 3. Uchiyama was thought to be the best in the division at the time, and Corrales He blitzed him. Punches from every angle, speed. He was wild. He was a wild. His wildness and unorthodox style was very effective against Uchiyama. Uh, in Uchiyama, he had no answers for him. Um, Emphatic knockout, emphatic win for me. Upset of the year. They're going to fight, I think, in 2 days. New Year's Eve rematch in Japan. But for me, Corrales Uchiyama. No one saw that coming. Yeah, that's my 2016 upset of the year. I'll go to you, Gail, then finally Daniel and Jacob. 2016 upset of the year.
Got to be Joe Smith Jr. against Fonfara. I mean, could a guy be more anonymous and be named Joe Smith? You know, and a part-time boxer at that, at the time, was still working 5 days a week in his union construction job. And then doubled down against, admittedly, an older, outside his prime, Bernard Hopkins. But at the time, all Smith was a tune-up fight on the way for Fonfara, getting perhaps another shot at Stevenson, or, you know, people were even talking about him fighting Andre Ward at that point. Well, nobody's talking about that anymore, and that constitutes an upset in my book.
Jacob and Daniel, your 2016 upset of the year.
Oh, I'm sorry. I have to go with you, Mike. Corrales Uchiyama. Because not only did I take a Japanese crowd, like, which have become pretty rabid lately in a generation for being really emphatic about their fighters, but it was what Uchiyama had next that really set the tone, because had he beaten Corrales, he was supposed to have gotten the Nicholas Walters fight in the spring, make a U.S. debut, and pretty much like give the leeway to who somebody probably going to talk about later on, Naoya Inoue, coming up to as far as like a little Japanese invasion of the lower weight classes. But Corrales shut that up now. There's definitely a rematch New Year's Eve, good old Japanese tradition. But yeah, that was emphatic, and that's like I said, the main reason I probably would pick that versus Joe Smith and Fonfara, because like you mentioned, Mike, Uchiyama was considered the best in his division at that time. Fonfara was not considered the best light heavyweight at that time. He was in the top 5 most likely, but he was not the top.
Okay, I'm gonna go to you. We're gonna go to
real fast. I'll
go
do
ahead.
mine.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so mine is Smith Fonfara, and the reason is that for me, upsets, what defines an upset is an unknown, fighter beating a top-ranked fighter, and then the way that he did it, first round knockout. Nobody saw that coming. I think it was in Chicago with the Polish crowd. So it was like in the Lion's Den. So that's why it's my upset of the year.
Indeed. Interesting. I'm going to you on this one, Gus. You surprised us a bit, both with your fight of the year and your fighter of the year. Your fight of the year took place in the Philippines, WBO Bantamweight Championship. You, as much as anybody I know, pay attention to not just the mainstream fighters, but being the geek that you are, you'll pay attention to a lot of the fighters that even guys and ladies who call themselves hardcore heads really don't pay attention to. So for this category of breakout boxer, breakout performer, I'm interested in your decision here, given your keen insight into the sport. Your pick for breakout performer of the year in 2016. This is for you, Gus. Open your mic. Don't tell me I set Gus up like that. He doesn't even have his mic open. Anyway, I'll go to you on this one, Gail. Breakout performer of 2016.
tough one for me. There's a couple of good choices. You could make a case for Joe Smith Jr., a very good case coming out of nowhere. You could make a case for Julius Ndongo. You can make a case for some of the mid-range prospects too. I think I have to go with Jarrett Hurd, who had 2 great opportunities to be visible. He ended up getting elevated to the televised undercard of Thurman Porter and put on a great performance. Then he had the chance to get another TV shot, did it again. I'm going to have to give it to Jarrett Hurd, and he is in a very competitive division where there's a lot of possibilities for him, a lot of competition, all with the same promoter. So come on, PBC, come on, Al Heyman. Let's put together some great fights at 154 next year.
Jacob, breakout performer of breakout boxer for 2016. This for you, Jacob. Unmute your mic. Are you there, Jacob? Let's go to Daniel then, since Jacob is not apparently around. Daniel, your breakout performer of 2016.
Breakout performer. This one's interesting. Let me see here. Okay. Oh, good. Okay, I got to think about this one. Not really. It's Errol Spence. It's Errol Spence because he literally went from a kid that you knew he would talk about to doing something that even Manny Pacquiao wasn't doing, which is knock out Chris Algieri. And then, like I said, in front of 6 million people, like I said, which again, smart doing by the PBC. Knocking out Bunda like that, and he's gonna be guaranteed a title shot in this next fight, no matter what. Whether if he goes the IBF route against Kell Brook, if Brook still tries to do that, or even the WBC route, which would mean a fight with Tim Bradley. So either way, like that kid broke out. People know him now. People are now going to probably talk to him in the same manner talk about Bud Crawford and like Max Kellerman and David Crawford. They're going to talk about wanting to see him versus Terrence Crawford.
Good pick. Errol Spence, as far as I'm concerned, the most avoided welterweight in the world, the guy that nobody really wants to fight in that division. Was talked about he was a guy at the beginning of the year who was highly regarded, but at the end of the year, a guy who I feel, again, is feared. Beat Algieri easier than Pacquiao did in my estimation. Beat Bundu much easier than Thurman did when Thurman and Bundu fought. Bundu had his moments in there against Thurman, not with Spence, who took him apart and finished him in emphatic, really, destroyed him that afternoon.
Yeah, and he took his soul.
And the way and the fact that fight happened at the end of the Olympics, perfect timing in terms of from a visibility standpoint. But for me, you say Spence, and to a large part, I agree with you. But I'm going with Oleksandr Usyk. Boxing heads, hardcore heads like ourselves, knew who he was. But once he got that shot against Glowacki and he won it, a lot of boxing insiders took note. As you saw, his next bout was on the undercard of Hopkins, Joe Smith. His follow-up bout, his second title defense, is rumored to be on the undercard of Golovkin, Daniel Jacobs. That says to me that the powers that be are invested in this guy. So for me, Usyk, who is already in my estimation, the best cruiserweight in the world, is already talk of him moving up to heavyweight eventually. Me, Oleksandr Usyk, my breakout performer of 2016. I'll go to you, Francis and Joe, and then Luke Scorsese. And if Jacob and Gus, if you're back around, please comment. Breakout performer, breakout boxer for 2016.
My breakout boxer for 2016 is Joe Smith Jr. I'm thinking about the time that Joe and I saw him fight Andre Fonfara at the UIC Pavilion. And he came in as a very underestimated opponent for Fonfara, someone that Fonfara could easily beat. Unfortunately, Smith's power was underestimated, and he delivered that first round stellar knockout. It was something totally unexpected, and it silenced the crowd, and it was amazing. It was an amazing knockout, and it set him up for an even bigger fight against Bernard Hopkins, who he was able to knock out as well. So from my perspective, I pick him as the breakout boxer because he was underestimated. People didn't take him seriously because he didn't box full time. He's a tradesman during the day, so many question whether or not he could really take boxing to the next level and even be committed to the sport 100% with having a full-time job on the side. And how good is he really even going to get? Most of Joe Smith's talents, I think, are within his power. And power is just one thing. That's just one element in boxing. It doesn't make somebody a champion. It doesn't make somebody a winner, obviously, automatically. But Joe Smith Jr., he surprised me. He surprised me in both of those fights. And for those reasons, I'm giving him my Breakout Boxer of the Year award.
Yeah, I actually agree with Francis. You figure Joe Smith starts the year as a full-time construction worker that boxing fans had no clue who he was. He knocks out Fonfara on network TV. He goes and ends Bernard Hopkins' career by sending him flying out of the ring. Now everybody knows who Joe Smith is. So to me, he's my breakout star of the year.
Scorsese, your pick for breakout star.
Write me another one down for Joe Smith Jr. The man don't even got a nickname as far as I know, but he got 2 vicious knockouts. Fonfara was asleep under the turnbuckle. I think he could probably read the writing under the turnbuckle. Probably said made in China. And then B-Hop got to read the made in China under the ring. Joe Smith broke out hard this year. They talking about big New York fights for him. Championship fights. He did his thing, man. Like I couldn't pick him for the upset of the year because he didn't knock out a champion like other guys did. I think it was 2 guys ahead of him, and Dongo and Corrales. But for this, he put on 2 crazy performances. Like Joe said, from Union Man to this right now, crazy. And he is the beneficiary of the Superman Stevenson curse at this point. So breakout.
Actually, I want to point out something, unfortunately, that goes against Joe Smith. As big as the fight with Shawnee Monahan would be here in Long Island, that's about as big of a fight right now as he can get, unless Adonis Stevenson petitions the WBC to not be forced to fight his mandatory in April. Errol Spence, like I said, Errol Spence is guaranteed a title fight in this next fight, no matter what.
Any comments in regard to that, to the pushback against Joe Smith?
Too crazy before. I don't know, man. Like who came from working at what was Goodyear Tire and Rubber or something? Where's Joe working? Like what is this place really?
He's part of the United Steelworkers Union. They're the local 66. I think they have their union house in Shirley, but Long Island's kind of a weird in the sense where we kind of have borderless towns. Real borderless towns. So I think that union house is technically in the area where you can classify it as Mastic.
Wow.
But for some reason, the zip code still says Shirley.
I tell you what, nobody else came from that. And he knocked out a Hall of Famer. He pushed the eject button on B-Hop nose and knocked him out the ring. And Fonfara put on a hell of a fight when he tried to get that title. And he got even more wins, man. It's whew. Joe Smith all day. Got to. I respect what Earl's done, but Joe Smith all day.
Hard category here. And I put this up here, this category on purpose because it's going to make folks think, force folks to think, I should say. Trainer of the Year, 2016. And I'm not even going to go to one specific person. Anybody who wants to jump in on this, please do.
I'm going to jump right in. If using an analogy, usually the movie that wins the Best Picture Oscar also earns the Oscar for Best Director, the guy who was at the helm of the Best Picture. So think about who our Fighter of the Year was, and naturally, you got to look over there, who was his trainer? So for that reason alone, in a category where I do have some very strong runners-up including Manny Robles, who worked with Oscar Valdez, Jason Quigley, Jesse Maldonado, or Magdaleno, would be a close runner-up, but I've got to go with Shane McGuigan. Shane McGuigan is one of the youngest trainers of an elite fighter in the entire boxing universe. It's a very unusual situation, and for him to have achieved that kind of success with Frampton, and he's 2 years younger than his fighter. He's 27 years old. That is an amazing achievement, and he gets my Trainer of the Year award.
I agree.
Ronnie Shields done some at the junior middleweight division. He created 3 champions. I know Jamel left and at his title shot, but Ronnie Shields basically placed his career in his hands and guided that. And Jamal Charlo with the knockout of Julius Williams, the win over Trout, and not only that, but Lara went and took what was his toughest fight to this day. Some people think took it again, and I think he won it more convincingly this time. It was another good fight. Man basically made 3 champions in the same division. I think that's something to say.
Gus, if you're around, your pick for Trainer of the Year, as well as Francis and Joe.
Gus may be knocked out.
Yeah, he may be knocked out. He's a little bit under the weather right now. So I go to Francis and Joe, your pick for Trainer of the Year for 2016.
For my Trainer of the Year, I actually give that award to Manny Robles, Gail's runner-up, for several different reasons. He actually is the trainer for Oscar Valdez and then Jesse Magdaleno, who defeated Nonito Donaire by unanimous decision. And Nonito Donaire, he's not at the level that he used to be, but nonetheless, it's still an impressive win. And for Oscar Valdez, I mean, he's a world champ. So for being as young as he is and for having a wonderful backstory of following in his father's footsteps as a trainer, I would have to give my award to him.
I agree with Francis. I don't really have too much to add on that.
Okay, I'm gonna chime in right quick before going to Daniel Jacob. I agree with Gail here. I'm going with Shane McGuigan for what he's done for Frampton, the win over Quigg, the way he constructed the fight pattern when he moved up to featherweight, and why he name escapes me. Help me out, guy. I just had a brain freeze. Who he beat for the featherweight title?
Santa Cruz.
Santa Cruz. Leo
Santa Cruz.
The plan that they came up with that to beat Santa Cruz, surprising to me. I didn't think that Frampton would be able to do what he did to Santa Cruz, and a lot of that has to do. Part of it has to do with Frampton moving up in weight and him feeling physically more comfortable and more powerful, whatever. But a huge chunk also has to do with what Shane McGuigan, what he constructed in that fight, and also David Hayes back on the scene. He's with McGuigan now, and the resurrection, bit of a resurrection for George Groves, who's 8-0 with Shane McGuigan in his corner. Groves is on the verge of a title shot. So for me, yeah, I'm going with Shane McGuigan here. My 2016 Trainer of the Year. Daniel Jacob.
I had to think about this one. I've legitimately had to think about this one. Yep. Go ahead, Jacob. I have to think about this one.
All right, mine's the same. I had the same as Gail and Shane McGuigan for all the reasons you guys named.
Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to make it 4 in a row with McGuigan because, like I said, it's hard to do what Frampton did against Santa Cruz because nobody else has been able to do that. Literally stop Santa Cruz's motor from starting. and keeping it consistent
Oh,
for 12 rounds. And Frampton did that.
he got beat up.
You can disagree, Scorsese, but Frampton won that
He
fight.
got beat up.
It was close, but he won that fight. It was
His
close.
guard. He drops his guard all day and eats straight shots. Come on, he got beat up, man. And I just don't see how we can praise a team that ducked the pound for pound fighter. This is the way to the Super Bowl. That's the Super Bowl. And he basically said, I'm skipping the divisional game to go to Super Bowl. How can we praise that?
Okay,
You're right, but they're all ducking him at 122. So
Yeah, you don't praise none of them. Therefore, you know what? You don't praise. It's like he said on Twitter with Miguel Flores, who took the fight. Respect to him. That's what Rigo said, something like that. And that's what it is. The people who don't even want to fight the lineal. Look, we respect that they go fight A2, A3. But like Gus said when he came on here, politics aside, some of these men ain't even, politics aside, they barely making it. And it's like so many people praising McQuiggan and Frampton. It's just like I would have done it too, but he could have knocked out Rigo the same way. Rigo's been on the canvas. If he would have done that, we could have came on here would have been unanimous.
Oh no, I can agree with that. Like I said, I'm not discounting Frampton not fighting Rigo. Same reason for Quigg. Quigg had even more of a reason because that bastard was actually his mandatory. So even then, I'm still a little bit mad salty about it. But you can't really, this kind of job is done. It's not only with Frampton, like you mentioned it. Hey, Groves. How many people thought that we would see George Groves after that knockout that he suffered at the hands of Carl Froch come back the way he's been coming back? And even he's had a couple of tough fights. That fight with Martin Murray was not exactly a walk in the park. So we have to give an overall resume. I do have to give that like a runner-up for like a tie between both Robles because there's not much you can say about him. When you put Oscar Valdez out there, you know you got quality there on the corner. But Abel Sanchez too, because not only does he have Triple G, he made a 23-year-old kid in Gaziev go to a part of Russia where he's probably not familiar with and beat Denis Ledebev in Russia. And not only that, like I said, who if he's given enough time is actually going to make Andy Ruiz not only be a fighter, probably has the fastest hands in the heavyweight division, but probably be in shape.
Yeah, you give him the trainer of the year just for being able to watch that back meat jiggle every day. So yeah, I agree with that. Abel Sanchez.
And throw Shafikov in that mix too. Done really nice work with Shafikov.
Oh yeah, I'm still mad about that fight though. I'm still mad.
He beat Coleman. He won that fight. He won that fight, man. He won it fair and square, didn't he?
I see Gus's mic is on mute. Get in here right quick, Gus.
Sorry, Mike.
We're talking trainer of the year. Who you got?
Trainer of the year. Manny Robles. I think he's done a tremendous job with Valdez, and I can see his development over 4 years. Also, recently with Jesse Magdaleno coaching him to a world title as well. He just has that unique ability of cultivating young talent and almost fast tracking them so quickly. So, and he's also got 3 other kids who, Oscar Escandon over in Mexico as well, who looks very, very good, ready for a world title probably next year. So definitely him.
I'm going back one step. What you Gus? We were talking about the breakout performer of the year in 2016. A lot of folks here in the hangout in the panel had Joe Smith Jr. I had Alexander Usyk. Given how you pay attention to so many fighters, including a lot of fighters that folks don't know about, I'm interested to see your choice as uh, um, breakout boxer for 2016.
Mike, there is one talent, a young man who's fighting in Japan either tomorrow or the day after. 21-year-old Kosei Tanaka, a superb talent.
Fighting Fuentes for Beltec Junior Flyweight, I believe.
Yes, yes. And he's got aspirations of being a 5-weight world champion. I'm not sure if he's already won a world title before. He could have been. Apologies, my brain is a little bit scrambled at this time, but he's looking to make history this year, I think. But he came onto my radar very early in the year, and he's definitely a real emerging talent. And a lot of folks don't even know about this kid. So yeah, this fight against Fuentes is going to be, a real exciting fight, and we'll see exactly how good this kid is. But I rate him very, very highly.
There's a connection between breakout boxers and the next category here, prospect, because before you can break out and become anything of note, you have to be a prospect first. Gail, you mentioned Jared Hurd, and I forgot was breakout performer of the year. I'm going in that same realm in terms of division for my prospect of the year, and that's Erickson Lubin, 21-year-old junior middleweight, southpaw, very, very good in my estimation. He seems to me, he fights a lot like a left-handed Felix Trinidad. Already at the WBC convention, they talk about him fighting, in effect, an eliminator bout against Vanes, Vadas Rosen. He's been on PBC cards, the undercard. We've seen him on NBC. Again, I think he's very talented. He's young, but he's skilled. He has power. I like him a lot as a fighter. I think he's going to be something in a very rich and talented 154-pound division. So for me, Erickson Lubin, my prospect of the year. I'll go to you, Joe and Francis. You're in the gyms in Chicago. You went out to see Ward and Kovalev. You're all over. You kind of inside, if you will. So, give me what you've seen in the gyms. Give me what you've seen in television. Give me what you've seen live at fights. Who do you think is the prospect of the year for 2016?
My prospect of the year is Eddie Ramirez. He's a 24-year-old kid. He fights on the undercards on the PBC. He's from here in Chicago. So he picked up 3 wins this year in 2016, and most recently over in September, he went over to California on a PBC card, fought an undefeated prospect over there, and ended up knocking him out in the 7th round. So he's a guy who's coming up. He's a welterweight. He was real popular here in Chicago, and now that he's fighting on the PBC and traveling across the country, I think you're going to see him come burst on the scene over the next couple of years.
But before I go to Francis, is he amongst that group of fighters over in the Chicago area that they're really pushing hard, including the sad, tragic death of the fighter most recently in Chicago?
Yeah, exactly. He's in that same group. Ed Brown, who was murdered just a month ago. He's in the same group with Kenny Sims Jr., who's real good here. Adrian Granados was in the same group as them. There's a good group of young welterweights that are coming up together. Yeah, so Eddie Ramirez, he's a good one.
Okay, Francis, your choice for prospect of the year.
My prospect of the year is Clarissa Shields.
Nice.
Yes,
nice.
yes. She did fight on the undercard of Ward Kovalev, and I was able to watch the fight, and I was very impressed with her pro debut. And I'm only looking forward to her next fight. Obviously, she's only had 1 fight this year, but I think that she has a very bright future. She's very aggressive. She faced a tough contender, Franchon Cruz, who was relentless. And I thought that Shields handled her very well. And I think she has a very bright future in professional boxing. Collectively, I like what professional boxing is trying to do with recruiting female boxers with very decorated amateur backgrounds, because technically they look very solid. They look very impressive. They throw a lot of punches. They're exciting to watch. And I mean, we can only look forward to great fights if we're going to have a bunch of Olympians facing each other. I think that women's boxing has figured out that the UFC has a big talent pool in their professional fighters, which has only made the UFC more hugely popular because they have such great talent. And I think that maybe boxing is starting to catch on to that trend. So in addition to Clarissa Shields, I, of course, I'm looking forward to seeing Katie Taylor fight again because she's also very impressive. And then also Marlon Esparza, who made her announcement that she'll be transitioning into professional boxing as well. But I will be giving my award for Prospect of the Year to Clarissa Shields.
And I know we haven't got to our predictions for 2017, but I will make a prediction, an early prediction now. You will see Clarissa Shields on an HBO or a Showtime on one of those cards, not just as highlights from her, a pay-per-view bout or whatever, but you will see her on a regular HBO show or an After Dark. You will see Clarissa Shields live in 2017 fight someone. I'll go to you, Scorsese. Who do you got your eye on as the best prospect for
Man, I'm
2016?
kind of stumped on this one. It's a fine line between contender and prospect. I would have to say I think I'm gonna cross it a little bit. We mentioned Jared Hurd. He fought a former title contender. I think he had a hurt hand in that fight, and he just felt him out and beat him up pretty bad. But that Thurman Porter fight, this kid put on a show. He got put onto that card at the last minute television portion and put on a damn show. Uppercut after uppercut. I was begging them to stop the fight for that kid's safety. That he was fighting, I think it was a Molina twin he was fighting, or one of the brothers, and he was beating the mess out of him. I mean, Tank Davis, you can give him respect because he going for a title at 21 years old. No, he's an early 22 years old. He going for a title versus a much taller opponent. Oh man, I can't remember some of the Mexicans that I seen names, but I seen a lot of good Mexican ones. I can't just pick one. It's a lot of damn good talent out there.
I know you have to leave soon, Jacob, so I'm gonna go to you, and then you can go to Gus. Then I'm going to go to Gus. Prospect to look out for.
Yeah, I had the same one you did, Mike. Erickson Lubin. He was on the undercard of that Williams Charlo fight, and he demolished his guy. He did a lot of good, combination work, body work. It seems like he has the hunger and the drive. He had 4 wins this year, so I think he's someone to look out for.
Gus?
Prospect to look out for next year. Andrew Selby, Lee Selby's younger brother at 115. Highly decorated amateur. Superb talent. Another kid from the UK. His name is Ryan, the Piranha Ghana. European junior champion. He's turned professional at the age of 19. Amazingly talented. Frank Warren has just signed him. Fights at featherweight. There's a kid at featherweight who I've been very high on for 2 years, but still very slow with him. Edgar Valerio looks the real deal. Sort of 5'11" featherweight. He will eventually move up the weights, but looks an amazing talent.
That's Arguello height.
Huh?
That's Arguello height for a featherweight.
Yeah. Oscar De La Hoya's brother's got him wrapped up, but he just looks very, very exciting prospect.
Daniel, and then finally Gail, your prospect to look out for, your prospect of 2016.
Oh, this one's tough. Because for a while I thought it was going to be Spence, but to me Spence did enough where he's no longer a prospect.
He's a contender, serious contender on the verge of being champion.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like that, I would have thought it'd been Spence, but I would have to do a 2-way tie if we want to think about it, and jump off a little bit of what Francis is doing, but a different fighter. I'm gonna do a tie between Erickson Lubin and Katie Taylor. Erickson Lubin mainly because he's been brought up very, very fast. They're not letting him stay low. He's very busy, and it's earned him now a title eliminator in a division where the fights can easily be made. If he beats Vanes, Jermell has no excuse. He can't say, "Oh, it's my brother," or "It's my stablemate," even though they weren't stablemates anymore. You have no excuse. You have to fight him. And Katie Taylor, because this shows you how much faith actually Steven Espinosa has in women's boxing. On the undercard, she was on the undercard of Anthony Joshua versus Eric Molina. And Steven Espinosa had the chance to actually buy Chisora versus White as a co-main event. He chose Katie Taylor instead. It shows you how much faith they have in her. Her skill level is great. Like she beat her opponent in the 6-round fight. I do have to agree with Gail. Like they have to start fighting 3-minute rounds because the fight went on too fast. Went on too fast, and it shows how much faith actually, particularly Showtime, is showing to women's boxing. And I think I'll leave it a point for 2017, but I'll say it, yeah. Katie Taylor and Erickson Lubin.
Let's go to promoter of the year, and anybody who wants to chime in, please do. For me, I have to go with Matchroom. Frampton Quigg, Triple G, Brooke, Anthony Joshua. UK boxing is on a roll right now. I believe they have more champions, UK world champions, than they have American champions. He has a prominent role in that. Talk of bringing Anthony Joshua to the States sometime. Joshua's a budding star. Frampton, in many regards, is Frampton is not with Frampton is not with Matchroom, but still, PBC, the momentum they had early in 2015 when it was announced and all that, it's fallen off. Aram, okay, he's got Manny Pacquiao and some other. That's his main fighter. He got Crawford, but outside of that, what prominent other name? Golden Boy. They got some emerging guys, but outside of Mr. Redbeard, Canelo, give me something else.
Redbeard.
King, pass, nothing. The Duvas, Kathy Duva, they got Kovalev, but outside of him, name me somebody of note. Really, for the past 2 years now, Matchroom has been doing their thing, and I don't see anybody surpassing them right now. And they're beginning to make inroads here. So for me, Matchroom, Eddie Hearn, no doubt about it. For me, my promoter of 2016, and anybody who wants to chime in, please do.
Agree. Totally agree with everything you said.
Yep.
Yeah. Love his fights, hate his fights. He's making fights. He's making stuff happen. When everyone else is stalling, he swoops in. And let me tell you, several times during recent big cards in Vegas, who was there making the rounds, seeing and being seen, making a lot of noise, having a lot of side conversations. Eddie Hearn.
And you watch in 2017, he's going to scoop up some American fighters. You watch.
Well, and I'll bet you one of them is Claressa Shields.
Because technically she's not with any promoter right now, but she has a potential to make a whole lot of money. If you're around, Gus, unmute your mic, chime in on this since you are from the UK. I said Eddie Hearn, promoter of the year. Your thoughts on all this? If you're around, Gus. If not, Francis and Joe, Scorsese, your thoughts?
I gotta agree with you with Matchroom. I mean, for all the reasons you mentioned, he picked up Ortiz late in the year, signing him. And like you guys said, he's making fights. The cards that they're putting on are deep cards with a lot of good fights. I think the second half that he had in 2016 was just fantastic.
I have to agree with that.
Scorsese, your thoughts? If you're around Scorsese, unmute your mic.
Yeah, it's a clean sweep. This time he's the unanimous person. He's the only person that had anything unanimous in his favor today. Eddie Hearn is running the game over there, about to do it even bigger in 2017 with David Hay and Bellew, and then damn, he's doing it at heavyweight where nobody else is doing it. Like that's crazy. He's killing it.
Pretty
Indeed.
much.
Yeah. You was gonna say something, Daniel?
Yeah, no, I'm gonna add the cherry on top to Eddie Hearn being in it. He has not only the most champions, he has them spread throughout through the little guys all the way to heavyweight, and he does smart moves to make sure that his fighters are protected. Like I'm saying, he signed Luis Ortiz to make sure he never fights Anthony Joshua. That's a smart move to make sure that he's never taken out. But he's doing, like I say, he's doing things that Oscar De La Hoya, Bob Arum, Al Heyman can actually learn, which is strike while the iron is hot. We've gotten past the point where we have to marinate things anymore. We've reached a point where we're not going to allow 5 or 6 years for wait for a potential fight. We've grown tired of that. And Eddie Hearn, luckily, is the man saying, okay, yeah, we know you're tired. I'm going to give you the fights you want, and I give it to you at the right time.
And what prominent U.S. promoter can basically go over into the UK and make essentially an exclusive deal with a television network, the same that Eddie Hearn and Matchroom has made with Showtime vis-a-vis Anthony Joshua? I'll wait.
And I don't even think it's just the level of competition they putting on some nights. Some nights is good. Some nights the UK fans are complaining real hard about it. It's just the side moves, like you said, the TV deals, crowds forever being there. It don't matter if Joshua fight me, he gonna put asses all in the seat. So it's like he making people mainstays.
I mean, so yeah, like him or love him, you better respect him and what he's been doing. So yeah, Eddie Hearn, I mean, he's doing his thing right now, no doubt about it. To Scorsese's point,
And no doubt he got the connection in them hotels that if you come over there and don't bring your own food now, still got that going for him too.
right?
Good old Eddie.
Move on. Final two categories. Well, one more category. I'm gonna add this in right quick. This is going to. I'm adding in as a surprise. Comeback Fighter of the Year. I'll go for mine right quickly. Oscar Mars. At the beginning of the year, you really thought he was on the declines. There was health issues with his eyes. He hadn't. I mean, he fought Santa Cruz, competitive but lost. It looked like he wasn't the same since Johnny Gonzalez wiped him out. But at the end of the year, for him to be Cuellar, not only did he beat him, the way he beat him, a resurrection of his career, doing some things we hadn't seen from him in years, the way he boxed him. He's back on the scene at 126 in a major way. I'll go to you, Francis and Joe. Surprising many of us. Thoughts right quick. Comeback Fighter of the Year for 2016.
You know what? I got to agree with you with Abner Mares because a few years ago, him and Nonito Donaire was the fight everyone wanted to see. Then Abner Mares got knocked out by Johnny Gonzalez, had the eye issues, kind of disappeared and lost to Leo Santa Cruz. But he came back this year, had a really impressive win against Cuellar, and he's going to be a player in that division. And that division is really interesting right now. So when you figure how far Abner Mares, he was up. He went down, and now with that win over Cuellar, he's right back in the title picture again, and has his own title. So, to me, he's the comeback fighter of the year.
I'm going to have to give the comeback fighter of the year to Andre Ward, specifically for his performance in Kovalev Ward.
Good
because
choice.
It didn't look like,
Now that I think about it, good choice.
Yeah, it didn't look like it was the fight was going to go towards favor earlier on in the fight after that knockdown. But he really took control of the fight and was able to outbox Kovalev in the later rounds. So that was an amazing comeback. And although it had a controversial ending for most, it definitely wasn't a robbery. But I wasn't even sure myself watching the fight live whether or not Ward would be able to recover from that knockdown. But he always finds a way to do that. So I give my comeback of the year to Andre Ward.
Anybody else who wants to chime in? Your thoughts, your choice for comeback fighter of the year for 2016.
You can put me squarely in the camp for Abner Mares. It was a tremendous performance, a performance he absolutely had to have. It also gave Robert Garcia his 10th division champion, and that seems to have been a really good matchup between Garcia and Mares. We'll see in the next fight, does it stick? Was that a little bit of beginner's luck or not? But they seem to be a really good pairing, and do credit to Garcia. But I don't think I have seen Mares fight that well in several years, and it was really a nice thing to see, and it livens up that division, that's for sure.
Gus, Scorsese, Daniel, Jacob, comeback fighter of the year.
Sorry, Mike, keep dipping in and out. Got to realize it's 4 a.m. as well.
My apologies, Gus. My apologies.
No, my apologies. Comeback fighter of the year. Probably Hasegawa Hosumi. Given that it was also his last fight, which it turned out.
Another good choice. Yes.
And to fight Hugo, because he's been in the doldrums in Japan after a few losses, sort of restructuring his career, and he completed the clean sweep, free titles, 3 world champions at different weights, and he fought a very, very good fighter in Hugo Ruiz, and he boxed beautifully, broke his nose and stuff, and a beautiful and a fitting ending. So a great comeback, and it was definitely one that I predicted as well.
And a perfect way to retire, to call it a day. I mean, just spot on. Had to give him kudos just for that alone, for him making that decision just after I win a world title, after nobody expected me to. I'm just going to ride off into the sunset and that be it. Beautiful, just absolutely beautiful. Scorsese, Daniel, and Jacob.
Well, next year you got somebody he went from being a butt of everybody's joke, and next year he's gonna whoop somebody's butt. Just came back this month. Chavez Jr.
Oh, stop it.
I'm serious, Chavez.
It wasn't me. It was not me this time. It was not me.
The man made the weight. Canelo's tucking his head between his legs because he talked that big game, and now people holding it up to him.
I can't.
Chavez Jr. I like the performance down in Mexico. I respect what Mara's done. I respect the story of the guy that Gus just told. I've heard it before, and I actually looked him up. But Chavez Jr. went from just the butt of every joke, and he's in contention to put on the first $1 million pay-per-view since the pay-per-view king retired.
Oh, stop it. Damn it, he still is the butt of everybody's joke. Stop it.
He's going to. Get ready. Get ready.
Just no. And you're lucky I ain't got my trigger finger on. I'll mute you right now. But anyway, damn it, let me move on. Because I'm clearing that out of my mind. Because just no.
Send the virus down the path, Mike.
That's what I'm saying.
All right.
Anybody who else want to chime in? Comeback fighter of the year.
I was gonna say Morris, but then the more I thought about it, and I did say it. Like I said, I did say when you were on my show, Mike. This may be giving him credit for the future, but Mikey Garcia to come back from that long of a layoff and not only put up a really good performance in the Garden, but then immediately say, I want to take on what could be the hardest puncher in your division as the actual challenge, which he's going to. I have to say Mikey Garcia because he's proven to me that he hasn't lost a lot. And if he stays in that path long enough, him and Lomachenko are going to be a fight that I think almost everybody will want to see in the end of 2017.
If he can continue to hold that 135 division, because I don't know if he can.
I think you purposely did this. I remember say he came out to 138 just to prove to people that he can make it.
Yeah, we will see. I'm going to you on this one, Jacob. And again, you lucky my mute finger was slow because you was about to get muted for that Chavez decision, Scorsese. Jacob, your prospect, not your prospect, comeback fighter of the year.
I'll have to go with. I mean, everybody gave pretty good ones, and just to be a little bit different, Jorge Linares.
That's a damn good choice.
It
really is. Damn good.
He had a lot of like issues, with the hand and stuff, but the performance that he put on in the was it in the UK, I believe, has me excited. Has me excited for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Has me excited for that division, and so yeah, he'll be my comeback fighter.
That's a really, really good choice.
Yep.
You was gonna say something, Gus?
Yeah,
That's a very good choice.
second in Chavez, pretty good.
Let's stop it.
Chavez. His fight was in Mexico, so we don't, we don't know any testing saying, was done there.
My mute finger's ready now, Scorsese. Don't.
Hey, just feel free to use it, but when May comes around and Canelo is making that, well, I was the smaller man excuse.
Mike, as soon as Canelo comes out unshorn, you know who he's going to go for, and
Now, Scorsese, what if Canelo actually does what's probably going to be expected of him because of what Golden Boy did with the WBO and fight Saunders?
He be making the right decision. He might get beat there too, but he ain't gonna get beat down. Chavez will beat him down. He's not gonna feel a thing Canelo throws. He will beat him down.
That's because Chavez will be 185 by the time he enters the ring, man.
Yeah.
Actually, no.
They talked it. They talked it. They thought, hey, this guy's just a big money, big doofus idiot that's just gonna make me a lot of money. Go ahead, try it.
Sponsored by Burger King.
I dare you.
If Chavez Jr. was about something, he challenged the winner of the Gale and Baldu Jack instead of fighting come on, man. Come on.
Yep.
Canelo has joined the circus. Canelo joined the circus with the Amir Khan thing. He did it. Who else was it that he brought up? Was it another man? Josecito Lopez back in the day. The Khan, he's a circus fighter. So if he wants to keep it up, hey, go to the ultimate circus fighter. The ultimate circus fighter.
If he's about that life, he fight fighters his own side. If he's about that life, he fight Funfaro again in a rematch.
Oh no! Come on, Mike. You don't want him dead.
If he's about that life, he fight Funfaro in a rematch.
168.
How about Joe Smith? He can fight Joe Smith.
Just 168. Joe Smith don't want those problems.
Oh, whatever. Joe Smith would take him apart.
I can't wait till this come around.
Like I said, if he's about that life, he fight the winner of Jack and DeGale. But he's
Joe
not.
Smith with Gravedigger him.
Now, well, Mike, if we have to actually bring in some logic into this has been the fight the Mexicans have been wanting for a very, very long time.
And what do they want for that? A cookie, a biscuit, or a donut? That don't mean nothing to me.
No, a churro.
No. This is why, Mike. Remember, not so long ago, they were only one division apart. So that fight was actually feasible. Now they just wanted just to see Canelo just beat the living daylights out of Chavez Jr. so they can stop being loyal to his dad.
Look, man, all boxing fans want to see Chavez Jr. catch another fade so we don't have to hear from him no more.
This is true.
Now let's move on. 3 categories to go. Before we have our predictions for 2017, go through this quickly. Since I know you're up late, Gus, again, my apologies for that. Your best moment for 2016. Oh, Gus, he may have faded out again. I know it's really, really late. I'll go to you. I think Jacob had to leave too. I'll go to you, Scorsese. Your best moment in
Best
2016.
moment, best moment. Oh man, damn it. Somebody else and I'll get some ideas
Wait a
gathering up
minute.
over
You
Wait a
know,
here.
minute. Wait a
you
minute.
know what you
Wait a
want.
minute.
You know
I
what you
got
want to
this. I got
say.
this. I got this. I got this, Daniel. Best moment, and you're not gonna say the Superman curse?
Uh, I'm trying not to offend. Well, I was thinking more the Ali thing they did, the tribute before the fight. And the things every fight did before that, that was pretty big when that was going on. But I mean, if we want to take it there, yeah, we can go Superman curse. Seeing B Hop go out that ring, seeing everything I said throughout the year come to fruition. For not only this shit come to fruition, but not only this year, this last year, this year, this thing is just taking the sport by storm. Gus talking it up, people hitting me up on Twitter. Tell me more about the curse. Yeah, it's happening, man. When I tell you that curse, they lose, and it's just how it go, and it's amazing. I'm thinking about doing a documentary on it. I'm gonna contact Yvonne Michelle, try to get some rights to do it, and say you must not see what you got going here, because that thing's amazing.
Francis and Joe, best moment for 2016.
I actually don't have an individual best moment, but collectively, I will say that the best moments this year for Katie Taylor and Clarissa Shields going pro. Because I like the idea that professional boxing is now recruiting these very talented female fighters. The way that the UFC is, they're trying to really enhance the talent pool in boxing and professional women's boxing. And I think that this is going to be a very big transition for professional women's boxing, because for so long, I feel that women's boxing has just kind of gotten the reputation of being all about brawls and the fights being very aggressive and almost personal, as opposed to being very technically strong. For example, with Katie Taylor, we were discussing with Carpio that she fights a lot like a man. She fights a lot like a man. If you were to watch her, I mean, some of her skills, it's just amazing to see just how good she is. She's nothing like a lot of the female fighters that we've seen, where the fight does become very personal and almost like a brawl. She's technically very good. So I'm excited just collectively to see a lot of these female boxers make their professional debuts this year, and even more excited about 2017, because I think that professional boxing has tapped into a talent pool of very great women, and there's only more to come.
Joe?
I don't know. You'd think the best boxing moment would be easier to pick, but I'm just gonna say Charlo and J-Rock, with the way that it was two young stars who were fighting each other, because you just don't see that a lot in boxing, and they both really took it to each other. And then the way it ends with Charlo with the big highlight reel knockout, to me, that's what boxing's about. Young guys like that going at it, giving everything they got. So to me, that's my best moment.
Jacob and Daniel.
Oh man.
For me, the best moment of the year was June 4th. Just the, Muhammad Ali passing on the 3rd, but the being at the StubHub, which is just a great venue. The tribute to Muhammad Ali, which was very touching, and just the response that the crowd gave, and then having that followed by that fantastic fight, just encompassed the whole, weekend day, everything, the event. So that was my moment of 2016.
Daniel, and then Gail.
My moment, even though it legitimately turned into nothing, was when Tyson Fury went into the ring and had pretty much that wrestling promo.
He
Yeah,
took it out of my mouth. That's why I said, "Oh man."
I will
Took it out of my
baptize
mouth.
you.
I will baptize you. And and the fact that, like I said, it's spoiled by the fact that Tyson Fury decided to be in love with Coco this year, but oh my God, that was a good. Not only was it a good promo in the sense of the fact that you're trying to type of fight, it was an organic event. It wasn't it, and you had the antithesis of it in the Joshua Klitschko announcement.
Mm.
Yeah, Klitschko coming in there, and the announcement was too corporate.
Klitschko too boring.
No,
Yeah,
I was
he's
going to say
terrible
that
with the
as a
mic.
joke.
No,
I was
no,
going to say that as a pun.
no, but that's the thing. That's the thing. It went from how corporate that sounded, and at the beginning of the year, how natural that sounded. Where I think if you legitimately would just leave all those people alone, and if you had Wilder and Fury there, they probably would scrap right then and there, because those two do not like each other. And
Best moment of. Okay, I'm sorry.
And that was when I said, even though it turned out to nothing, unfortunately, because Tyson Fury decided to be in love with the Coco. That's probably my best moment of 2016.
Best moment in 2016 for you, Gail.
I will second Jacob because I was there as well. And if you were there, there was no more fitting moment for the year than the tribute at StubHub to Muhammad Ali. Every member of the audience was emotionally arm in arm. We all lit the venue up with our phones, which was what we were asked to do, was all put a light on. Every single person there did that. The spirit of the man was there in young, in old, in hardcore fans, in the casual fans that go because it's such a nice venue. And it surely fueled the fight that followed. Would have been a great fight anyway, but there was just something more magical about it. And there was a unity there. We all should feel more often in our lives every day of the year. And just to grasp it for that little period of time makes you want it the rest of the time, and something to think about. Now, I have to admit, for a lot of other reasons, there are some other great moments that are important to mention. Claressa Shields winning her second American Olympic gold medal in boxing, and what that means for women's boxing. And let's please get them to fight 3-minute rounds. I completely agree with that. That's what I'm looking forward to for 2017 is the uprise of women's boxing. I think the time is ripe and has come. You've got to agree, Wilder and Fury, that is the kind of, as you said, organic, unscripted moment that we relish in boxing. You know, that was just classic trash talk. Absolutely great stuff. And I have to throw in one more, a very minor moment, but again, being present for it was really something to watch. When Sullivan Barrera stopped Slava Shabransky here at the end of the year at the Fantasy Springs Casino on the 17th of December, pardon me, the 16th of December, his elation at winning that fight after a rough year and the elation of his promoter, Kathy Duva, I have never seen her that happy. She has had a rough year. And to watch promoter and fighter embracing and celebrating in the ring, they deserved it. They deserved that moment of glory. And it put a nice close on the year for both of them, and they can look forward to 2017 together.
Yeah, good moment. That's a good choice. That's a good pick too. Given the Kovalev loss and everything and the aftermath of that, I have to agree with you and Jacob here. Salido, Vargas, at the very end of the fight, when the crowd all rose to their feet, thunderous roar, given the tribute, given the fact that Salido walked out to the ring with an Ali t-shirt, all this, again, against the backdrop of Ali passing. I mean, shoot. I was moved to the point that I I split part of the YouTube show the show following Ali, the show following the passing of Ali. I made sure to split the YouTube show, just split part of the conversation we had about Ali, which I believe lasted close to an hour. I made that separate into an individual podcast. That's how important it was for me. So the culmination of the ring walk, of the tribute, of the fight itself, it's just that moment at the end when the crowd rose to his feet. I can't remember it was Jim Lepley or somebody may have said Ali would have been proud. At that moment, shoot, I was moved by all of that. So for me, yeah, that's the best moment for me in 2016.
Yeah.
Just
Oh,
the culmination of all that at the end, where the crowd rose to its feet for thunderous applause at the end of a great fight. Um, you put that all together, that was just it was emotional, it was moving, it was fantastic. Just a bundle of different emotions all into one. Um, Hit me at that particular time. Going from
oh,
that glorious moment, best moment, the worst moment. And I'm gonna start off here, and I may get on a bit of a rant here. I just got two words for worst moment in boxing: Alexander Povetkin. Um, the fact that he uh, forced Wilder initially to go to Russia to have that fight. He tests positive. They try to fight it. He keeps his position as mandatory contender basically. Then at the end of the year, where he's going to fight Stavern, he pops positive again, um, and then he pops positive for a second time for a different PED, but he's allowed to fight a sanctioned bout against Duhaupas, in a fight that, as I said last week, and I'll continue to keep the stance. I have not seen, I will not see, just out of sheer protest. So for me, all things involving Alexander Povetkin this year, that's just my worst moment of the year. He should be suspended for years. I'm just disgusted with him and everything involving him this year. And anybody who wants to chime in quickly, please do.
Mm.
Yeah, that was just an ugly stain for boxing. Bad enough Povetkin's misdeeds. But, shame on Duhaupas for participating in a fight. I don't care how much you get paid. At some point, you have to have some integrity and say, no, I'm not going to participate in that. So just a stunner that he would do something like that. I do think we have to look back at the death of Mike Toll, the Scottish boxer who died in hospital beginning of October after a bout. It was a very sad moment, terrible moment in boxing. But I think for the symbolism and damage overall to the reputation of the sport, you do have to go with Povetkin.
Daniel, as well as Francis and Joe, we talked about this on Daniel's show. Uh, do you consider this the worst moment of the sport so far this year?
it's a tie. It's a tie on two different fronts. First of all, yeah, Povetkin ruined two fights that I legitimately wanted to see him in because his ass wants to cheat. And then just to have the Russian media try to blame this on VADA. That's the worst part. That's probably the part that pissed me off most. Because they literally had Russian news reports going out saying like, oh, look, the American drug agency just happened to find this the day or the week, first of all, the week before we fight their American champion, or in some cases, the day before we fight the American contender. I literally want to get out of here with that bullshit.
Yeah, they need to have several seats.
Yeah. Now, but I have to go to the UK, and if Gus is up, I have to go to the UK with this entire situations that been swirling around the year, from Nick Blackwell. From Nick Blackwell being allowed to spar Not only being allowed to spar the guy that gave him brain damage and put him in a coma in the first place. In Eubanks. And then the whole deal with Tyson Fury, where you had apparently the UK knew that Fury tested something positive, and then they let the Klitschko fight happen anyway. That in itself is worse on some levels, but the Blackwell situation stings to me the most because we almost had a similar situation with Callum Smith on the undercard. Like I said, on the undercard for Joshua Molina, he knocked that kid out cold. And that fight should have ended like 2 or 3 rounds before it ended. Like, look at that fight. Callum Smith, the fight that earned him, technically legitimate, not earned him the mandatory slot for the winner of the Gale Jack, even though he technically had that already. Look at the beating that he put on the kid that he was facing. And you cannot tell me that fight should have not ended 2 or 3 rounds earlier than it did.
Scorsese, Francis, Joe.
Worst moment of the year is happening now. It's happening to me right now. Seeing the politics of boxing winning, I gotta go with what Gail said first, though. The deaths of the fighters, injuries, and things like that, always the worst thing in this sport, and it probably never change. But besides speaking about that, the politics of boxing winning out, being able to pick and choose. The worst of the worst was when a fight that I fell in love with, even when it was announced, Walters Lomachenko, I was ranting about boxing, giving it to us half-ass, and always never doing it the right way. This man out the ring for a year, then he comes back and takes on an A++ level fighter and decides, hey, I can't beat him. He's beat me up. That's all I can take for the night. And the boxing fans, they just, I mean, Victor Ortiz threw pizza at him. They might as well just done those things to him. It's like some people don't even fight an A-level fighter their entire career. This dude did it off a whole year layoff after being robbed in his last bout. You know, and it's like that means nothing to you. This dude who knocks out opponents every time he get into the ring, put on fan-friendly fights for you. And then the promoters screw him over. The politics have got him screwed over. The network didn't care to give him a date. Whatever. You know, whatever the case may be, fans letting the politics win, especially with Frampton, Lomachenko, and Pacquiao to me. Pacquiao taking 2 bouts that, you know, you didn't ask for Bradley Part 3. Nobody asked for Bradley to be his decade opponent. And then you go beat a guy that Bradley beat, and people call you fighter of the year. And then with Frampton, you duck a pound for pound fighter, and they call you fighter of the year. It's like, and it's all hitting me right now. Like, and Lomachenko Walters was just last month, so it's like I've taken a 3-piece basically. It's just like I mean, we might as well start calling Canelo Khan the knockout of the year. You know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, I just can't do it. Politics and boxing, the corruption of it. It is really getting on my last nerves.
Francis and Joe?
My worst moment of the year was during Canelo's post-fight interview after he knocked out Amir Khan when he said in Mexico, we don't fuck around. We can put the gloves on right now, and got everyone excited that a fight between he and Gennady Golovkin was actually going to happen. When in reality, he should have just said, if we don't fuck around. If you want the belt, take it, because he ended up vacating his belt later on, and we are closing out 2016, and the fight hasn't happened, and we don't even know if it'll happen in 2017.
Right.
So that was my worst moment of the year, because the fight never happened. Disappointing.
Yeah, actually, this year, there was a lot of worst moments for boxing this year. Tyson Fury just not fighting his rematch with Klitschko and just giving up his belts because
he's a cokehead.
Probably the one to me though is not even one that happened in the ring. It was outside of the ring when a young guy named Ed Brown here in Chicago, who was a undefeated guy coming up into the ranks and was just about to make it. He had just won 17 fights in 17 months, and then he was killed here in the Chicago gun violence just about a month ago. And his a guy with a bright future like that, only 24 years old, and you see he has so much going for him. Then to have his life taken, to me, that's my worst moment of the year.
Yeah, that was, yeah, that's just, when I heard about it, that was sad. I was thinking about you and you and Francis, because from my understanding, it happened not too far from where you live, in your city. You've seen him at ringside at fights as well as in the gyms, I believe. So, yeah, condolences to his family. That was sad. Young rising prospect like that killed off of nonsense, basically. And again, it's this. I say when boxing is good, we talk about it. When boxing is bad, we talk about it. And hell, when boxing gets that ugly, we have to talk about it. Last thing before predictions, most memorable moment for me, I have to say the passing of Muhammad Ali. As I said, when we did the tribute to him, when he passed in June, early June, I believe it was. Uh, um, you know, you knew it was coming down. You knew it was going to happen, but you were never really prepared for it. It was that situation. And yeah, even to the day, I'm still having troubles dealing with it, dealing with the fact that he's no longer here. Um, the most popular boxer, as far as I'm concerned, of all time, the most impactful boxer of all time, most prominent sports figure of the 20th century, as far as I'm concerned, one of the more prominent, one of the greatest individuals that America has produced, that the Black community has produced. So yeah, all that he meant, not just in the ring, but outside the ring, the most memorable moment for me, the passing of Muhammad Ali. And if anybody wants to comment, please do.
Michael, you did such a good job. I think I can speak for the whole crew and say amen.
Yeah, during the Bartholomew Bay fight, they speaking about this, and I'm just like, wow, my dude in the ring, and they gonna bring this on. I think that was the fight that was going on Spike TV, and that was a crazy moment. They wasn't announcing them gone at that point, but I think it was a little bit after that, basically. And the way we hear it happen is, he just kept fighting, and it's craziness. But far as my worst, hold on, you said the most memorable moment. Okay, for as far as that, I don't want to be one to be deaf. I wanted to be, boxing. But my most memorable moment, since I missed out on it, was when Adonis Stevenson rushed the ring on Sergey Kovalev. It was not Kovalev. They asked him questions. He says, the chicken noise he starts making, whatever, I can't do it. I just tried. I failed. I tried again.
That was a
and
duck noise.
He makes the chicken noise, and Adonis comes in the ring. Adonis is there to be cordial. He's there to be cordial. He's bringing guys in there with him. He's just there to get the microphone and say, if you want to fight. But Kovalev flips this man a bird and turns away, and he erupts. And he says, Kovalev, I'm the real champ. It's me, Adonis, real champ. And I'm thinking to myself, ain't nobody scared of Sergey Kovalev. And it's all been proven. And that was one of my most memorable moments. That's when Sergey Kovalev officially went from beneficiary of that curse to a man that is now cursed himself, and that curse is just carrying on out.
Scorsese, yes, it would be you to pick the moment where a man that's too pussy to fight another man had to bring in 5 other people to protect him from that man.
Ding, 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 ding. Here we go.
Have to be factual. We have to be factual. I just want to ask anybody on the panel. If HBO let Triple G get away for only $100,000, they only had to pay $100,000 to not lose him to Showtime. Wouldn't they be foolish not to pay that man $100,000? Wouldn't they?
We've been through this before.
I just
Yeah.
wanted the yes or no. I just wanted the simple yes or no from somebody. Like
It depends if he's worth that
no,
much.
Yes,
It would
unanimously.
depend.
they
No,
would be
no,
they
no,
would be retarded, wouldn't they, Gus? Let Gus. What'd you say, Gus? They would be nuts, wouldn't they?
no. Well, no. If you go to a man who you
No,
know the
Daniel,
other side
we don't want to
negotiating
take the show,
table is
Daniel.
doing
Daniel, we
no
don't want to take the
business
show
with,
for you. No, Daniel, we don't want to take over the show because you're not
no,
gonna go with facts. Anybody else with memorable, y'all might the most memorable things might be me and Daniel going at it about this. But hey,
no, no, no. But I actually, in all honesty, it's the whole saga of Ali.
Yeah,
That's
look.
that's that most
We've been
memorable
through this
moment.
thing. We've been through this thing with Stevenson before. Scorsese has some points. Daniel has some points, but no disrespect, and I understand the fact that you want to keep this on a joyous note, but keep it on topic here.
yeah.
As entertaining and as funny as that was, uh, no offense, but it doesn't compare. It just doesn't.
No, I didn't want it to be about death. I didn't want it to be about death. I let you have that one. I know that I just picked that for something. I just think as far as that was one of the most memorable things for me because this man had been ridiculed. Like I say, he's one of the best knockout artists of our time. He's 40 years old, going towards it, and still knocking guys out 10 years younger. And I want to see him fight these people, but other people are saying no, we don't even want to see him. It's just like, are you kidding me? And this guy had finally had enough of it, and that's a huge memory. Like I think that's going to lead to some fights, and it should lead to it because it shows he wanted to mix it up with him. And I'm in all seriousness when I say I really do believe those guys are feeling the curse of not going out the lineage and going for A1, A2, and not just A because he won the fights and he showed up, and I just felt like, wow, that fight's gonna happen. Didn't happen, but it was one of the most memorable things to me, no doubt.
Okay, fair enough, fair enough. Um, let's go into our predictions for 2017. I thought I heard Gus. I'll go to you on this one, Gus. Um, your bold prediction for 2017.
I think we
Okay,
knocked us out again.
yeah, I think Gus is
Yeah,
not
he
here
was just
again.
on. He did say something.
Okay, I'll go to you. I'll go to you, Jacob. Your bold prediction for 2017.
If I may, though, real fast, as far as my most disappointing or what I think it was like the
Memorable moment.
worst moment of boxing for
Oh,
me
I'm
was
sorry to get you that. Yeah, I forgot. I omitted you.
yeah,
The worst moment.
no worries. But the worst moment was for me. I mean, Ali was a big one, but also fighters not making weight and continuing for that to happen. I think it's bad for the sport of boxing. And my most disappointing moment was Clarissa Shields not getting signed to a deal after winning 2 gold medals in back-to-back Olympics. But as far as my predictions for 2017, my biggest prediction for 2017 is the death of boxing pay-per-view. I think that we're going to see, I think because of the Pacquiao Mayweather thing, that soured a lot of people, but even the numbers that they're getting and the forced pay-per-views that they've been doing have been bringing in really bad numbers. I just don't think people want to pay for that anymore. I think the technology is catching up where people are streaming things and making things available or leaking it out. So people know this, and I think it's going to hurt pay-per-view really badly, and it'll eventually go away.
Gail, your bold prediction for 2017.
I'm not sure it's horribly bold, but I do think 2017 will be the year for women's professional boxing. We have the right amount of big names that are catching attention. They are fighting in a more professionally accepted manner. And if you don't think women can fight like men, go watch world flyweight champion Annabelle Ortiz of Mexico do body work. She does the best body work in the world, men or women. It's astonishing. With women, with the personalities that we need to carry the sport, like the men, like Clarissa, like Katie Taylor, like Heather Hardy, like Cecilia Bracas, who is a force to be reckoned with, and when people see her, they'll get excited. Marlon Esparza, who is known to the American audiences, and many, many more whose names people don't know yet. Amanda Serrano is on an undercard here coming up. It's the year. It's finally our turn. But ladies, let's get 3-minute rounds. That's the one thing I ask. That I don't predict happening next year, but I do think we're going to see women on major networks in America, and can't wait.
Two good predictions. I go to you, Scorsese. Your bold prediction for boxing in 2020.
Deontay Wilder. He's gonna break his hand again in a tune-up, and he's gonna do this whole gimmick again. I called him earlier today. I believe it was hip shaking, hand breaking, tune-up taking Wilder. That's who he is right now. Another bold prediction. I really couldn't. When I saw these topics, these gave me hella trouble. I sit there for minutes trying to put them down, and I'm basically going off the top of the head with some of these because they were hard as hell to do. But another prediction. Gennady Golovkin will finally unify the middleweight division. The winner of James DeGale and Badu Jack will be in the top 3 for running a fight of the year. Once again, I think both of them should have been in there for last year as well.
Francis and Joe, bold prediction for 2017.
I think I have one individual bold prediction, but I just thought about some of the fights that I would like to see in 2017. And that would be Salido and Lomachenko 2, Chocolatito versus Inoue, Sergey Kovalev versus Adonis Stevenson, and even more boldly, Mayweather coming out of retirement and fighting Triple G for his 50th fight, which likely won't happen. But if it did, I'd love to see it.
My bold prediction is that Anthony Joshua is going to knock out Klitschko, and then he's going to fight Deontay Wilder in 2017, and he's going to knock out Deontay Wilder.
Daniel.
I got a couple. Like I said, my first bold predictions, you will see a completely unified division in boxing by the end of the year. And probably the second one is, as I said, and it's to piggyback on Gail, we will see an all-women's boxing card on a major cable network, and it'll most likely be Showtime. And there's a good chance, actually, that from what I'm seeing, it will feature Clarissa Shields, Cecilia Bracas, Heather Hardy, and both Serrano sisters. I'm just laying it out there.
Okay. Couple pro predictions here. One, the guy who a lot of people consider the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter in the world, Roman Gonzalez, will lose to someone in 2017. I don't care if it's a rematch with Navarez. I don't care if it's a possible rematch with Gallo Estrada or Nui. But the more Chocolatito has moved up in weight, the more he has struggled. I think he's capping out at 115. Too much talent in that division for him to survive. If he's going to fight the fighters that they're proposing for him to fight in 2017, and should he fight kind of a murderous role, if you will, of Quadras, Inoue, Estrada, he will lose. So that's one of my predictions. 2, Errol Spence will finally get his title shot. And whoever he fights in that division for the belt, he will win. And he will become the Marvin Hagler of the welterweight division. 3, to Joel's point, by the end of the year, you will have either negotiations going or a contract signed, sealed, and delivered for Deontay Wilder Anthony Joshua for the first half of 2018, in what will be the biggest heavyweight bout since Tyson and Lennox Lewis. Those are
Mike,
my predictions.
Mike, do you want to go out on the on the ledge and say the politics, the layoffs, the rust, the age, and the height of Moises Flores is going to catch up with Guillermo Rigondeaux at 35 years old?
Could be.
Mm,
Could be.
I'm going with it. Bold prediction. The
If
face
they
breaking days are over.
If they fight.
No, I think they are. They signed up to fight.
That's a good point. That's a good choice. That's a good choice actually, because the politics, the age, the inactivity. Yeah, I had to tip my hat to you, Scorsese. That's a bold choice for sure. If it happens, it's a very good choice because as talented as Rigo is, um, he's 35, 36. He look about 50, and he hadn't been in the ring for a while. And all that catches up with him. We'll catch up with you eventually. Just ask B-Hop. I'm just going to open up anybody. Last thing here. I'm giving you 3 fights that you want to see in 2017. I think Francis gave her 3. I'll go to Joe first.
Oh,
Unmute your mic, Joe.
3 fights I want to see: Chocolatito Inoue, Gennady Golovkin versus Canelo, and Kovalev Ward in a rematch.
Scorsese.
man, that's put on the spot. Number one, I don't even have to say it. Kovalev, Stevenson, Kovalev, or you can mix Ward in there, either one. Lord Jesus, this is a tough question. Just 3? Only 3?
3. We're
Um,
running out of time.
um, oh man, spend somebody.
Yeah,
Oh
spend
man.
somebody. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
yeah. And I want to see Crawford Bartholomew. And hey, one more bold prediction. Jeff Horn will
Oh,
give Spence hell. He will give him a
wow.
good fight. He will give him a good fight. There we go.
Gail, 3 fights you want to see in 2017.
Joe did it for me. He's got the same 3 I do. Canelo and Triple G. We want to see a Kovalev Ward rematch, and Chocolatito Inoue. I mean, can't get better than that.
Daniel.
Ooh, okay. I have to think about this one. No, I don't. Obviously, Triple G Canelo. Obviously, Chocolatito Inoue. And this is one like because Steve Kim asked this question, and I'm gonna throw this one because this is a wild and crazy one. Hughie Fury versus Tyson Fury.
Ah!
Mainly because that family has to decide which one of those 2 has to go in behind. The dude that's in love with the cocoa, or the dude that's actually putting in the work in the gym.
Yeah, but I don't think we have to watch that. Really? Do we want to watch that? Hell no. No.
You wouldn't want no, think about it. If we put this fight in Manchester and it's just arena full of travelers, you don't think that's going to be crazy?
I'm not saying it's not like you want to see a car wreck when you go by, you're going to turn. Doesn't mean I want to see a car wreck. If it's in front of me, I look, but I don't wish for it.
Jacob.
My number one's the same number 1 it was last year, and that's Adonis Stevenson Kovalev. I'm going to give it 1 more year, but my fear is if it doesn't happen in 2017, it's not going to happen at all. I don't think Triple G and Canelo is ever going to happen. But my second one is Brooke versus Spence. I think Brooke can make the weight. I think he could do it 1 more time. I think it would be a very competitive fight.
He's the only welterweight who has a chance to beat him.
I think it'd be a very competitive fight, and I think he wants it, and so I would love to see it. And then my third fight is Chocolatito, but not versus Inoue. I want to see him versus Strada, part 2.
I'll give you 3 choices again, Francis, for the folks.
Your 3 quick.
Oh, Kovalev, Adonis Stevenson, Amir Khan, Kell Brook.
Yeah, you're threatening to get muted again.
Chocolatito, Inui, and then my boldest one, which was Mayweather emerging from retirement to face Triple G, which probably won't happen, but.
Okay, my 3 choices before we shut down the show. Chocolatito, Inoue. Mikey Garcia, Lomachenko.
Ooh,
That's a good one.
Called it.
I'd take that. I'd take that.
Kovalev Ward rematch. And a bonus, Crawford and Pacquiao. Why? Because I want to see Pacquiao gone. He doesn't need to fight anymore. That's a pass the torch fight. And the emergence of Terrence Crawford as a superstar.
Nobody said Andre. Oh, I want to see him fight somebody at 54 bad.
Not prominent enough yet. Not prominent enough.
It's not even that it's prominent. His team just makes dumb decisions.
Yeah, they really do. They fucking get on my nerves. Jeez.
Finally, Daniel and Scorsese agree on something.
Oh no, we tend to agree. We tend to agree on certain things. It's just one thorn issue that's always going to.
And let's not bring that up again. Oh,
no.
They need a 22 to the foot. They shot themselves in the foot already, so they probably don't need that. They get on my damn nerve. This guy got so much talent, and it's just like you got Charlie. You the only one that can fight everybody. Without my cousin is a champion, and he's my brother, sister, uncle, baby daddy, and all that mess they got going on there. You the only one that can fight everybody, and just pick one, please.
and to your point, I will end on this. Andrade, he has the talent to beat just about anyone in that area. So yeah,
Yep.
you're absolutely right. And I think we're going to shut the show down on that note. Ladies first, Gail, and then Francis speaking 4-4 boxing for folks who want to talk the sweet science with y'all. Let the folks know where they can hit you up.
You can read my column, which is Ringside Seat, in Community's digital news, online news platform. It's COM, C-O-M-M, Digi, D-I-G-I News, comdiginews.com. I am writing all of my year-end columns. First one was up today with a lot of the stuff we talked about today. And then you'll see my Fighter of the Year, Fight of the Year, and a few odds and ends coming up in the next few days. Don't forget, we've got some great fights in Japan, the traditional New Year's Eve fights. There's some cracking good ones. And speaking of Corrales, he's over in Japan again. So we've got some stuff to look forward to with just a few days left in the boxing year 2016.
Francis, speaking for boxing, for folks who want to hear y'all talk the sweet science, let the folks know where they can hit you up.
You can check us out at 4boxingnews.com or on Twitter at 4boxingnews.
Scorsese, YTBC fan, for folks who want to talk the sweet science or anything else. Canelo's beard, the Superman curse. Let the folks know where they can find you. I gave the brother that setup, and he's
at a loss for words.
I'm
I
saying,
can't believe it. I can't believe it.
That's rude, Scorsese.
Oh,
Unmute your
man,
mic, man.
I was talking while I was muted. I was muted.
He was doing Chavez research.
I was looking at my Twitter handle so I could go ahead and get it right. To be honest with you, so I couldn't tell that I was muted. But
It's sad when I know his Twitter more than he does. But anyway,
and that's the God honest truth. But yeah, okay. One word, Milo Place on Twitter. Love to talk boxing with whoever want to talk it. My YouTube is Low Place, hashtag MLPF. Talk a lot about politics and boxing that I don't like, fighters that are not fighting, the fighters I want to see them fight, and just the regular man. I like boxing, talking with anybody who can talk it, like I said.
Jacob from Jab Hook Boxing, for folks who want to talk the sweet science, let the folks know where they can find you.
First of all, I want to say thank you, Michael, for having this show. You do an excellent job, and it's been a pleasure being on with this panel of people. Everybody's very knowledgeable and teaches me a lot about boxing, and everybody's respectful. So I love the show. I love coming on when I can, and
Appreciate
even
it.
when
Thanks.
I can, I love listening to it. But for all
And
the
thanks,
fans
and
out
thanks
there,
for joining us as often as you can.
yeah, no problem. My pleasure. And then for all the people out there, just support the show, support shows like this, support everybody on Twitter or their websites and everything, because they do a really good job. I did want to hand out one last award, and I don't know if he's still asleep, but Gus, you get my Rookie of the Year. It's been an absolute pleasure of having you on the show. In addition to the show, I think you bring a lot to the table, and
Indeed.
I hope you're back for some future shows too. And I'm really looking forward to your website or channel eventually coming up, because you teased us with a bunch of things this year, and I'm excited to hopefully read it. But I could be found on Twitter at JRATM23. Or at jabbookboxing.com. I did my top 10 fights I want to see, excuse me, in 2017, and then my year-end awards wrap up.
Indeed, and I'll speak for Gus because I know he's under the weather. Plus, it's late over there. He's joining us live from the UK. If you want to talk boxing or music with Gus, just Gus from Corruption and Boxing. You can find him on G Plus, that route. Daniel Carpio of the Inscriber for folks who want to talk to Sweet Science or the NBA, specifically the Miami Heat. Let the folks know where they can find you.
You can find me, folks, on Twitter, Raucus99. Like I said, luckily, I think the week after next, like I said, restarting the pod with Joe and Francis for Boxing News. I ride with those two always, and I'm actually typing. I was actually doing it as we were doing it. My year-end column for the Inscriber. It's been a very mixed year, some good, some bad. But overall, it's been a good show. And I have to piggyback also a little bit on what Jacob said when it comes to Gus. Overall, anybody in the UK, like him, EJ, Boxing Beats and Rhymes.
Yes.
For anybody that can do, particularly December 10th, I have to give them credit just specifically for December 10th. I'm surprised they're alive after December 10th.
Yes. Because they were on basically all day, all evening, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, seemingly, their time. And I don't know how they did it. And kudos to those brothers for taking the time out of their schedule to devote all of December 10th to boxing, because it was such a loaded Saturday. For me, if you know what it is, if you want to follow me, Brother JR on Twitter. At Brother JR76, as I stated at the beginning of the show. If you want to find out all things about Pound for Pound Boxing Report, please check out the blog page, P4PBoxingReport.wordpress.com. That's the blog link. That's the link to the blog, excuse me. Again, check to the right of the page. You'll find links to show you links where to find our pages on Facebook, G plus Tumblr, as well as links to where to listen to us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher Radio, Player.fm, Google Play Music. The next episode we will do. Last week we talked about the fight cards that's happening in Japan at the end of the year. I will try to do a recap of those recap of those fights. Excuse me, next week. Since there's nothing happening on the week of the 7th, we may devote next week to talk about fights that's happening the 14th. Badu Jack James DeGale's super middleweight unification bout. Interesting junior lightweight bout is Pedraza fighting the young upstart Gervonta Davis on the undercard of that bout. The night before, it's a world title fight, I believe. Let me check right quick. Lara, Arislania Lara, he's fighting the day before. So we will do a preview of all those fights. Anthony Durrell's fighting on the Lara Yuri former undercard. So next week, recap of the Japan card, as well as a preview of the fight that's happening on the weekend of the 14th. So for Gail Falkenthal of Communities Digital News, for Francis and Joe for Boxing, for Gus of Corruption and Boxing, Scorsese of YTBC fame, Jacob Rivera of Jap of Boxing, Daniel Carpio of The Inscriber, I'm your host, Blacko. This has been episode 152, the year-end recap, Pound for Pound Boxing Report Awards for 2016. I know it was a long show. We had a lot to talk about. Everybody, have a good evening. Belated happy holidays. Belated Merry Christmas to everybody. Let's hope 2017 is better than 2016. And I'm not talking just boxing. Everybody have a good evening. Good night.
Happy
Best
New
show.
Year.
Yeah, Happy New
Best
Year,
show this
everybody.
year.
Yeah, Happy New Year.
Happy New
Stay
Year,
safe.
everybody.
Best show of the year.
Oh man, you had to remind me of that, Laura.